Well, good day to you. It is July the 1st, and we are exactly halfway through 2023. So if you are a golfer, or if you're familiar with golfing terminology, you're about to pick up what I'm putting down. Hopefully, you have a great back nine of this year, and hopefully it's better than the front nine. But anyway, my name is Gary Willing, and as always, I want to welcome you to Search for Signs. And I just want to point out real quick, because I know I have a lot of people who are new, who hear these videos for the very first time, don't know what I'm talking about, but perhaps want to know more about who and what Maitreya is, want to know more about his priorities, or even if you want to see if there's any truth to this. The best thing to do is to take it an extra step. Just take it it doesn't cost you anything to do this. If you go down into the description portion of every one of these videos, there are links that take you to websites that talk about this information. If you're totally new, I would recommend going to the Share International site. There's a lot of information, a lot of background information about Maitreya, about his priorities. You can see images. You can read, letters to the editor that Benjamin Creme answered over the years. You can even see videos of Benjamin Creme giving lectures and those kind of things. So that's why I encourage everyone to at least take the time to look into it, and then you'll know if there's any truth to this. Now, if you want to join the discussion, you can post comments. You can post your questions in the comments section. And you can even, if you like, email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. Now, I want to thank Lauren R., Thomas Otto, Thomas Lynch, and Mark Hill for your comments and your questions since the last time I put a video up. So I really do appreciate it. And I just want to let everybody know, I always like to give a shout out to those people who ask questions and those kind of things. And the whole system has changed, where now, instead of it being somebody's YouTube channel name, it's the @. So like Lauren R., instead of Lauren R. and being able to easily read that, it's @Lauren R 3276. So this one's pretty easy for me to pick out, but there are some other ones that are kind of difficult. So anyway, if I have a hard time figuring out who you are, I do apologize. But anywho, I wanted to, real quick, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one, but this one's kind of funny. The title of the last video I put up, where I was actually answering questions and talking about different things, because I've been putting up videos where I just devote the whole video to reading Benjamin Creme's master's articles. So this is different than that. But anyway, last week when I put a video up, it was entitled Antichrist, Biblical Prophecy, and My Recipe for a Great Bavarian Cream Pie. Mark Hill wanted to know what the recipe is for whatever reason. I was just kidding, but I wanted to read what Thomas Otto said. I thought this was quite clever. He said, "I guess the cream pie is Benjamin Creme's message." So anyway, I actually like what you said and were thinking better than what I was thinking, Thomas, but it was very creative. No, the reason what I was thinking was it was all about the talk was about the Antichrist, and the Antichrist, according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, was the Axis powers of World War I and World War II. The Nazis were the strongest point in that triangle. So the Axis powers being the Nazis in Germany, the fascists in Italy, and the militarists in Japan. So I was thinking, Germany, Antichrist, what's a German recipe? And I just popped in my head, Bavarian cream pie. So Bavarian, I guess, is German for Germany. So anyway, thus the reason why I said it. But I actually, like I said, I think you're onto something with that, and you're much more creative than I was. But thank you. Anyway, so Lauren R., can we call upon Maitreya? I have been cursed by archons, evil spirits. Yes, you can call upon Maitreya. Anybody can, for his help. And the best way to do it, Lauren, I don't know if you know this or not, there is a wonderful miracle that happened some years ago, okay? And it's called the Hand of Maitreya. If you're unaware of this, Lauren, all you have to do is go to the Share International site, and they devoted a whole page to this, and you can even go on YouTube and listen to the video of Benjamin Creme talking about the Hand of Maitreya. But what is the Hand of Maitreya? Well, like I said, it's one of the many miracle signs that have happened over the decades, and this one was quite incredible because of a few things. One, Maitreya said that this is the closest that any one of us can get to him until he's out, known for who he is in the world, and that his help is there. All you have to do is ask. But the other thing that's really cool is you do not have to travel to Barcelona, Spain, and actually see this image on the actual mirror. You can actually just look at an image of it and have the same healing effect if you need a healing, or just a direct, to give you a better, have it more effective in terms of you being able to get your thoughts to Maitreya is by looking at this image of this hand of Maitreya. But what is the hand of Maitreya? Some years ago, a woman who lived in Spain had this apartment, and her only connection to this story was her son. I don't know if she necessarily believed any of this information that her son was telling her or what, or if she didn't believe any of it. But according to Share International, her only connection was her son, who was a coworker in Europe. And one afternoon, she goes into a bathroom in her apartment that she hardly goes to because I guess it had 2 bathrooms. And there was this handprint of a man's hand on her mirror. And the only people that had been in her apartment other than her were the people that cleaned her apartment. So she thought it was one of the cleaners had accidentally put his hand on the mirror as he was perhaps cleaning the sink or the counter. So she wiped it off. The next day, it reappeared. And I think it reappeared in a different bathroom, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, so then she was like, this is kind of something along the lines of what my son has always been talking about. So this is a long chain. So she called her son. Her son rang Ben in London. Ben asked his master. His master asked Maitreya, and Maitreya said, yes, that was his handprint that he put on the mirror. And asked, and it made it all the way back through to the guy to tell his mother to please don't wipe the handprint off again, because he would not put it back on there. So his son took a picture of it, and according to Benjamin Creme, that any one of us can look and ask for Maitreya's help by just simply looking at the image of this hand. Now, me personally, I have downloaded a image of it, and like I said, if you go to the Share International site, you can see an image of this hand. You can download the PDF file of it. You could perhaps put the picture in your drawer. If you want to frame it like I did, you can do that too, because it's quite pretty. But from time to time, I'll look at the hand of Maitreya and I'll ask him for help. And I've asked him for help from a lot of different things, and the help has come in very unusual ways. I'll give you an example. When I started doing these videos called, Search for Signs, in February of 2019, I think is when I started it. I wanted to talk about one of the experiences I had where Maitreya helped me clean a building. And if you want to know and hear the story in full, it's in a playlist called My Maitreya Experiences. But anyway, the woman who saw Maitreya, I didn't see Maitreya clean the building. This woman did that of the building that I cleaned. I could not remember her name. And so I looked at the hand of Maitreya, this image, and I asked Maitreya if he could help me remember this woman's name, because I wanted to use her name in this video. I thought it would add some credibility, perhaps, to the story, or add some validity to the story, perhaps, or whatever. So I asked him, I said, is there any way that you could help me remember? Well, what happened was she came into where I worked the next day. I had not seen this woman in years. And I was in a different part of town, and she comes walking right into where I work the next day. So anyway, I was blown away. And this woman was like, had no idea why I was so excited to see her. And I was like, oh my God, you were at the building I used to clean. What is your name? That was the first thing I asked her. And she said her name was Carol. And to this day, I still haven't forgotten it. But anyway, and the next day I put a video up and I used her name Carol. But that's what happened by just asking Maitreya for his help. And it is advised to be very specific in what you're asking. The times that I've been vague, I don't know if he's helped me in the way that he's helped me, but the times that I've been very specific, like this example that I just gave you, something specific happened. And like I said, it's quite extraordinary miracle. I think out of all the miracles that have happened, from crosses of light, weeping icons, not so much the healing waters, because they have a benefit, a daily benefit. The most extraordinary miracle to date, I think, is this hand of Maitreya. And there's no news coverage on it. Nobody's talking about it, but it is extraordinary. So couldn't say that enough. Now, I do want to, if you don't mind, Lauren, and hopefully I don't, if you're still listening to this, I don't want to turn you off and have you run for the hills. But if that's what happens, that's what happens. But because sometimes I open my mouth and I probably shouldn't. But I wanted to talk about the evil spirits part of this, okay, and cursing your life and those kind of things. You said you've been cursed by archons or evil spirits. And this is a social commentary, but I do think it's important to talk about because I do think that there are people perhaps who have other things going on in their life that they assign blame to. Okay, now, I'm not a big believer in evil spirits that curse people's lives. And I know that throughout history, people have, accused evil spirits in other people and themselves and those kind of things. They've accused Satan of things, those kind of things. But what I think is something to think about, and this is just, I'm not trying to draw conclusions, I'm just trying to get us to think about some different things, is politically, okay, the vast majority of people who are very Christian, fundamental Christian, vote Republican and right-wing. I'm not saying there aren't religious fundamentalists that are more progressive in their political voting, but for the most part, that's the case. And most people who are progressive and vote progressive Democrat aren't as religious or fundamental in their religious views as a general rule. I'm not saying that's 100%, but just hear me out. Why am I bringing this up about this? Okay, is politically, the people on the right, their political talking point when it comes to economic disparities is I have money. Let's say they have money or they're well-to-do. And rather than helping those other people who are poor, their thought process is, and their talking point is, that those poor people are to blame for their lot in life. That by me giving them money, that's not going to help them. So they need to stand on their own 2 feet. They need to do it. They're to blame for this. Do you see where I'm going from? When it comes to very wealthy countries like the United States helping out other countries that are poor, it's their fault that they're starving. It's their corrupt governments that's causing this, that the United States shouldn't help them, and the Western nations shouldn't help the poorer nations. They're to blame for it. They should accept responsibility for their plight in life. But yet, most very, very, very fundamental religious people, when it comes to spirituality, assign blame to everybody else but themselves. They assume, they believe that Jesus, if they just confess their sins to Jesus and say that they believe in Jesus as their Lord and Savior, that absolves them of all their wrongdoings in life, they are then, the slate is wiped clean, as they say. And they don't have to learn anything about what they do. They don't have to accept responsibility for anything that they've done spiritually. But I think that if you really looked at life as a spiritual whole, it's the other way around. Is that spiritually we should take responsibility for our lives. In fact, when it comes to the salvation of humanity and the restoration of this world, Maitreya himself says that he himself and these masters aren't going to do anything. They are simply going to point the way. Humanity has to do these things. We have to fix the wrong that we've been doing and heal the damage that we've been doing to the environment and to each other and those kind of things. That these masters aren't going to do it for us. They can simply teach, guide, inspire, and point the way. That's it. But when it comes to social life and the economic disparities, we do have a responsibility to the poor. We do have a responsibility to help them because everybody should have as a right food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, and education. So, to get back to what you were saying, I mean, and like I said, hopefully I haven't turned you off, and like I said, I know how real it must seem. I just don't think that evil spirits are cursing your life. I think it's your attachments, it's the way that we see life, and not just you, but anybody. It's our attachments, it's our way of viewing life, it's what we've done, what we've said, and then we're dealing with the karma of those actions. That's the problem. So if we're to blame, not to blame, but if we're responsible for what we're doing, we are also responsible for changing that. But I would recommend if if you're having those problems like this, is to take what Maitreya, a couple things that Maitreya said, his teachings, to heart and try to apply it on a daily basis. See if it doesn't help. If it doesn't help, then go right back to where you're doing. But He said, practice honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. You know, if you do those three things and just simply observe and not try to fix it or try to force yourself away from it or something, you might see that just by looking at it, you might not see that, you might start to see the unreality in it. And we all have our crosses to bear in our life. But the thing that Maitreya is coming to teach humanity is the art of self-realization. But it starts with honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. And it has to be a moment-to-moment thing. You can't just think about it one time and just let it go. You have to really dive into it. What did he mean by that? And if you go to the Share International site, you can read more about what honesty of mind is, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. You can read more about what Maitreya says about that, what Benjamin Creme, when he talks about that and those kind of things. Maybe that can help you, I guess, so hopefully. But anyway, thank you very much for the question. I love you guys. Take care. Have a great day, and I look forward to putting out videos in the future. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.